So we're going to flip it back to the defensive end of the floor.
I like that. Okay.
And it's a bit of a comparative stat. So the Toronto Raptors are 14th in the league with a defensive rating of 110.4. What would you guess their defensive rating is against top 10 offenses? So it's 110.4 overall. What do you think it is against top 10 offenses?
Probably a little bit higher just because they're playing tougher opponents. But probably not that much more, like maybe 111, 112.
It is exactly 111. The reason I highlight that is that when you filter only for the top 10 offenses in the league, the Raptors are the 5th best defense. So we came into this year being like, hey, if the Raptors can be a really good transition offense, if they could just be okay with the half-court offense, and then they're a top 10 defense, that's the prototype for a Raptors win, right? And they have exceeded expectations while kind of disappointing a little bit on the defensive end. Like, I think 14th is low relative to the personnel and where we thought they'd be. And if you're looking for optimism for this last third of the season, it's that they have shown consistently, not universally, everyone has bad games, but when the competition gets tougher, these guys can lock in a way where their defense doesn't slip. You could certainly frame this as a criticism of their defense against bad teams instead, but 5th best defense in the league against the top offenses. That, to me, suggests there's more upside here and there's more upward mobility in that defensive ranking.
That's a very, very good discovery. And makes me feel a lot better about their chances in the playoffs. I mean, look, we've seen them guard effectively Miami over the last stretch here. Like, even just taking away from the numbers and just taking away the actual performance. Yeah,
the last, 20 minutes of that game, the 3 overtimes, the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter, they gave up 0.8 points per possession.
And that feels high, to be honest. Like, because they were stopping everything they were doing.
And the dirty secret about that is, well, the game went to 3 overtimes because that's also all they were scoring.
It is what it is. They were playing 50-some-odd minutes in that game. I can kind of excuse that a little bit. But no, seriously, though. Seen them do that, they guarded Dallas fairly effectively, I thought. Luka obviously kind of went off, but, again, that's just Luka. Milwaukee, Phoenix. I guess Atlanta is not even a top team, but I guess they could be very good offensively. It's not just the numbers. Like, you can see it in the eye test as well. All right, my key stat number 4 is that the Raptors are number 1 in the NBA in deflections per game. This is sort of held true all season. They sort of traded a little bit with Memphis. Memphis is also a defense that plays a lot like the Raptors. But the Raptors right now are number 1 in deflections per game at 18.0 per game. Fred is tied for most in the NBA at 3.9. Gary is 3rd at 3.5. OG is 12th at 2.9. I mean, there's entire teams that don't have a guy that has 3 deflections per game. Lots of teams that don't have guys with 3 deflections per game. The Raptors specifically have 3 guys that are doing that for you. And I think when the Raptors look at their very best, it's when their defense really locks in like that, get out in transition and play. And that's the whole idea. They're also very close to the tops in the NBA in transition scoring. And
also number 1 in forced turnovers.
Yeah.
So very related to the deflections. Those deflections aren't just, they're great for eating up the clock and frustrating another team and putting them in bad shooting situations, but you're forcing turnovers more than anyone else. And we talk about their transition game. Look, I just outlined how they're 14th in defense and they've been even better than that ranking wise against top offenses. They're not doing it by not sending opponents to the free throw line and cleaning up their own glass. Those remain major problem issues. But this is how you do it, right?
Yeah. No, this is as close as we can say the hallmark of a Nick Nurse defense. This and also probably a box and one and other various zones, which I love how they're holding cards on the sideline and sometimes trying to communicate. Otherwise, you'll just see Nick Nurse on the sideline holding up 2 with one finger or one hand and then 3 with the other hand. I'm like, I think I know what they're going to do there.
I like that it's so complicated with the screen. So when there's a free throw and guys have time to look to the bench, it's the hold up the card. And then if it's live, this is the call for chin. It's okay, we're gonna
just gotta put a finger on the chin.
It's I imagine a back catcher and a pitcher going through their signs and a guy's on second base and you want to disguise a curveball and the sign has a whole bunch of different iterations, but then fastball they just put the number, give him the old number 1, just throw it right down.
Yeah. Well, look, man, I love that Nick is willing to innovate in these ways. It's creative. We haven't seen visual play calls in the NBA before.
No, we've seen it in college football is where I've seen it the most. But yeah, why not?
Why not?